The Legend of the Girl Who Danced with the Devil. Marisol was a young girl. She never really experienced life. Marisol had never been out or allowed to go out after dark, especially in the wee hours of the night. She was young, but she was still turning into a young woman at the age of 18. Her parents weren't strict out of cruelty. They were strict out of fear. They had come to the United States with nothing but a handful of borrowed dollars and dreams that were stitched together by sacrifice. Her mother worked double shifts, and she even cleaned houses on the side. Her father fixed cars in a dusty lot that smelled like rust and motor oil. They raised Marisol with kind, loving, fierce family devotion and morals. She was fierce, quiet, but they made sacrifices for survival. She knew she was supposed to stay at home. She knew she was owed them that, as nobody was home. But she also knew that something had shifted in the moment she saw him. Earlier that day, in the afternoon, she was walking home from her part-time job, smelling like sweet bread and cinnamon from the bakery, when a man stepped right into her path, tall, lean, and handsome. He was too beautiful to be real. His hair was dark and wild. His smile was soft but dangerous. He held a stack of flyers in his hand. She stopped and looked at him. He laughed and then smiled as he said, "You like music?" he asked her. His voice was as smooth as velvet. She nodded, shy, yes. He handed her a flyer, a midnight show in the warehouse downtown. "It's tonight," he said, glinting like they had a secret. "Come, I'll be singing just for you." And then something inside her, she couldn't explain it, but he winked and disappeared into the crowd. As she was there looking at the sidewalk as he was gone, something kept reminding her about his essence. By the time she got home, her heart wouldn't stop racing. His face wouldn't leave her mind. His voice echoed inside her. "Midnight, just for you." She knew it was stupid, and she knew her parents would kill her if she ever thought of leaving the house that late. But at 11:46 p.m., the house was silent, and her parents were fast asleep. Marisol slipped out of the window, landing softly in the cold night air. She walked quickly, her hoodie pulled up as her hands were trembling. The streets were empty except for the sound of the distant bass and the low pulsing in her heart. The warehouse was at the end of the street, lit only by a single flickering light. She stepped inside. The space was dim, smoky, crowded with shadows, more than people. And on stage, if you could call it that, was him, the man from the flyers. His eyes found her instantly, like lock and key. Out of all the shadows and people dancing and moving, he looked at her, almost looked through her. "Marisol," he said into the mic, though she had never told him her name. "I'm glad you came." And he began to sing. A chill crawled through her spine as he began to sing. The music was unreal. It was haunting. It was beautiful. She felt addicted. It wrapped around her like smoke, pulling her closer and closer to the stage. Her feet moved without permission. Her heartbeat synced with the rhythm. Her mind was foggy. As he sang, his voice was like a spell around her. The others listened, swayed, and danced. They looked lock and lock, eye to eye. Some looked like they'd been there for days, dancing, sweating, and moving. Marisol tried to step back, but she couldn't. He kept smiling, and it was like she was moving closer. He had a sharp smile. Some would even say it was sharp like a razor, something that belonged to a predator, but nobody actually knew. The lights flickered. His shadow on the wall grew taller and wider and twisted, almost not like human form. In the shape of horns, she thought she saw a being, maybe a glimpse. Marisol grasped, snapping out of a trance for a split second, just long enough to stumble backwards. But his voice kept growing deeper with each note. Her knees began to buckle. She covered her ears because she didn't want to hear the song, as she almost felt like the melody sank into her bones. As he began to come off the stage, he walked closer to her. Marisol remembered the stories her abuela had told her about the man with no shadow of his own, only the shadow of what he truly was, a charming demon or a seducer in spirit, an old Latin tale that whispered to keep girls safe, but before she knew it, he was in front of her. The warehouse wasn't a venue. It was more like an energy of trapped shadows and sound. Marisol was already inside as she was catching her breath, and he was closer. He was standing in front of her as the pulse of the bass was beating. But there was no real lights, or were there even real people, but only figures swaying in a trance. Their faces were blurred by darkness, and then she saw him, extremely clear. He looked beautiful, almost so beautiful it was blinding. Perfect jawline, gorgeous smiles, and eyes that looked like midnight oil. He stood in front of her, smiled. As her stomach began to drop, her heart just pumped a little bit faster. He held his hand out, and he said, "Come dance with me, Marisol." She didn't once ask him how he knew her name, but there it was, like a spoken promise. She knew then, in her deepest place inside her, that she still believed her abuela's stories, that maybe he wasn't human, but something was there that felt so moving that she didn't do nothing but get closer. As his hands closed around her, warm at first, but then it began almost to feel a little bit hot. The music shifted as it slowed, then sinfully, almost as an illusion. He pulled her closer as her body moved without permission. It was a dance like she never known. It was claiming, almost like they were binded together as one. Every step she took, his shadow stretched unnaturally as she looked across the floor. Every time he spun her around, her head began to swirl. Every time she blinked, his face looked a little bit different. Too sharp, too smooth, a little bit too flawless, like a mask slipping. Her heart raced. Something inside her whispered, "Stop. No, run. What is this? I don't know. Is this a man? I can't tell." But she couldn't. His hand slid to the back of her, guiding her like he owned her. Her pulse synced with the rhythm he controlled. Her thoughts were quiet, overwritten by the music. He leaned in, his lips brushing her ear. "You're even more beautiful up close," he told her. His voice was smooth, but underneath it all, she heard another tone, almost like a growl, a layered of ancient breathing, a dark hemisphere she never once seen. Her breath henched as he gripped her tight into the waist. The lights flickered, and she began to see for a split second his feet. No, wait. His feet. Where are his feet, she thought. It was almost like they were gliding, dancing perfectly, so fast. No shoes. She looked again. No shoes. No boots. Hooves. Her stomach dropped. Her vision cleared. Her blood went cold. She looked up at his face, and finally she saw what she was trying not to see. His eyes were glowing golden, predatory, not human. She couldn't see it. She felt it. Her vision was blurred. Her knees were weakened beneath the heat of his hands. The devil, she thought. The devil, still wearing a perfect face of the handsome singer. He pulled her closer. Their bodies pressed so tightly she could barely breathe. The music swelled, the dark and intoxicating movement, turning the air like thick honey. And then he leaned closer, and he kissed her. Not gently, not lovingly, but with a burn, consuming force. His lips scorched her flesh. Her mouth filled with a copper taste of flesh blood. Pain root and ripped through her, searing her violently and forbiddenly. He laughed. She screamed. She screamed louder. She could not break away. The sound echoed through the warehouse like broken glass. Shadows danced wildly. The walls as he suddenly let her go. She collapsed to the ground, grasping, trembling, tears spilling down her cheek. Smoke rose from her skin. People around her shriveled in horror. They stumbled backwards as the haze cleared. Marisol's face, once soft and doll-like, once the pride of her parents and the envy of her friends, was burned, twisted and scarred. Her innocence had been stolen in a single hellish kiss. He stood above her, smiling, a cruel, satisfied smile. And then the lights flashed and the music cracked into static. And he was gone. Just gone. Strangers rushed to her side. What happened? Are you okay? Oh my God. Who did this? What happened to you? But between their questions and the blinding lights, the panicked chaos, no one noticed that he disappeared. He was never seen again. Some say that night shattered Marisol. She stopped caring about her appearance, scarred. Her face never looked the same. She stopped laughing. She stopped dreaming. And she definitely stopped dancing. She dropped out of high school and started hanging out with the wrong crowd. Drinking, smoking, numbing the pain that refused to leave her. The burn marks on her face slowly healed into scars. But the pain that she felt in her heart never did. Until one day, she saw him. Across the street, smiling, handing out flyers. She looked at him. Their eyes locked once again. He looked exactly the same, not a day older, not a flaw on him. Young women crowd around him, giggling, glowing, and clueless. Marisol felt her body frozen. Fear twisted with hatred inside her. She bolted across the street, screaming, "Look what you have done to me!" She ran towards him, tears burning her eyes, but before she reached the sidewalk, a car hit her. Witnesses rushed to help, but when they looked across the street for the man she's been chasing, there was no one there. Not a single person had seen him. Not a single soul or witness could describe him. They whispered, "He wasn't real. She's hallucinating. She's on drugs. Could it be a trauma echo?" But Marisol knew better. She saw him. She survived, but she was never the same. Her life twisted in echoes of that night. Addicted, withdrawn, lost in the past. People say she wanders the alleys behind the old warehouse, humming of that cursed night. the same tune the devil once played and sang to her as he danced her into ruins. Some swear you can still hear her whispering, speaking to herself. Could it be the drugs? Could it be a real story? Don't dance with him. Don't dance with him. Don't listen to his song. Others swear they've seen the man, handsome, smiling, ageless, slipping flyers to young girls into the hands of the women before midnight. While people whisper about Marisol, they say she wanders the alleys behind the warehouses humming the same haunting tune, the melody from that cursed night. Her voice rises and falls with the wind, fragile and cracked, carrying the memory of the girls who only wanted to feel alive. Some swear they've even heard her warn them as women enter warehouses. Don't dance with him, don't listen to his songs. And some nights the winds answer back in a hypnotic tune, as if the devil himself is still prowling the street, hunting for another soul to charm. But the old heads and the abuelas all know better, and the tired parents who have seen too much. They say Marisol's story is more as a lesson, an energy of a curse. Be careful who you let close to your spirit. Not everyone is meant to dance with you. Not everyone who flatters you wants to love you. And some want to own you. Some want to break you. And some only show up when they sense the softness in your heart. Marisol didn't fall because she was foolish. She fell because she was lonely, curious, and hopeful. All the things that make a young girl human. Her story reminds us that darkness doesn't always look like danger. Sometimes it looks like a smile. Where did the myth and the story of dancing with the devil originate? The folklore and the symbolism of the dance with Satan isn't just a story. It's a theme that shows up in many cultures as a warning, a tale of temptation, or a metaphor of dancing in the shadow. The core idea is a human is lured into a dance with a supernatural force that appears charming, seductive, and of course glamorous. But for what the price is paid comes with the energy of exchange. There is some type of spiritual messaging or area of morale that reaches the listener after hearing this tale. There's definitely many versions of dancing with the devil. The European folklore started like this: a beautiful young woman, or sometimes even a lonely young man, goes off into the village after a hard day of work or being around the house. A mysterious and elegant stranger arrives, charming, perfect, but feeling a little out of this world. They dance intensely, but the twist is there's much more than just beneath the eye. As they are dancing, the individual notices that something is off. The person that they are dancing with, his feet are like hooves, and his hands are cold as death. His eyes burn red, and he feels like he is under a spell. A lot of times, the music is almost hypnotic. They can't break away from reality or move out of the situation. For whatever reason, during this dance, they just cannot let go. The story says that when dawn comes or a priest enters, the stranger vanishes in smoke or fire. And then the dancer collapses from exhaustion, or some might even say madness, a psychological breakdown. The meaning in this story is to warn us to listen to our intuition. Getting pulled into temptation or healthy desires, losing yourself in charm, lust, or glamour literally can take a hold of you. But spiritually, it is about what happens when you ignore the red flags and let your shadow lead the dance. There's also a myth about the devil dancing in Georgia. When the Devil Went Down to Georgia, an American folktale. A fiddler player challenges a mysterious man to a contest. The devil offers a golden fiddle in his wins, but the player's soul is what he actually loses. Again, we see the area of ego and temptation, talent, and risk bargaining of your own essence for quick success. In one of the most familiar stories to the Mexican and Latin culture is La chica que bailó con el diablo, the young girl who dances and sneaks out at night. Now, many say that this tale actually occurred in Stockton, California, or down in the pueblos of Mexico. She dances with a handsome and irresistible stranger until she sees a hoof under his pants, no reflection in the mirror, and she smells the sulfur. Some versions end with the girl fainting or even disappearing. The symbolism is quite familiar. The Mexican folklore uses to warn us about vanity, ego, and men with bad intentions. Losing yourself in the nightlife or the partying to be surrounded by men with strong egos and charm, the energetically pulling us towards them, unwillingly saying goodbye to our own sense of innocence. The moment when your shadow self gets ahead of your spirit is the theme of most of these tales. In witchcraft and the energy of the occult, the devil's dance is odd in some areas because there's a lot of anti-witch propaganda. People believe that witches would held Sabbaths where they would dance with the devil. Historically, many priests and men of the church would betray the women as selling their souls and morals to have a night of dance and fornication with the ultimate demonic beast. This was projected onto women who were sexually free, or as some would even say, a little bit fearless. The healers, the herbalists, and people who widely danced in public or in areas of festivals. Modern witches have reinterpreted this as dancing with your power or reclaiming your area of strength, instead of being demonized for the dance and areas of movement. It is so hard to be a wild flower when you are surrounded by flowers who will settle living in a vase. In the energy of psychology, there's a deeper meaning to dancing with the devil. Dancing with your shadow or your area of representation. Could the devil be representing your unhealed wounds that continue to surface? Your cravings, your self-destructive patterns, or your forbidden desires, your ego, your trauma, and your energy of trauma responses. So dancing means much more than actually a dance of movement. It is, theoretically speaking, as getting too close to the areas of vulnerability, getting too close, being seduced, or being centered around the energy of danger, letting something dark but familiar lead you. But there is so much an energy of empowerment with this interpretation. You stop being afraid of dancing with the devil once you realize the devil is your own shadow, demanding and seeing the integration and not domination. If you want, there is an energy of movement that comes with every rhythm. There's definitely the energy of the archetype of Satan, the energy of deep, dark lust, the stories of the spirits of the underworld coming up to seduce and create ecstatic or madness, the shadow below us that lures us into the area of escapism. The myth of dancing represents the ritual of transformation, the movement of seduction, danger, and losing and surrendering to no control. It is seen as an area of our primal spirit being around the movement. Long before the devil existed and the stories, Humans believed in spirits who would lure them into the area of intoxicating rhythms. Some of these were known in the earliest myths. For instance, the Maenads, the Greek myth, when the wild priestess of the Dionysus danced with mortals into a frenzy. Those who joined her movements sometimes tore themselves apart. They became possessed or experienced ego or even death. The danger wasn't evil, it was lost in the area of the shadow. This is one of the earliest forms of dancing with the devil. While it wasn't actually the devil, it was an area of losing control, dancing with something more powerful than your own ego or your area of self-awareness, and not knowing if you'll ever return whole. In the Fey Celtic myth, fairies often lure humans into a dance circle at their own risk. Time works differently for the fairies. The person can't stop dancing and somehow they never return. Others believe that the human is never seen again as they go mad or insane. Here is the devil as an enchanted creature, a beautiful fairy luring people out of their mind. Some believe in shapeshifters, the night spirits in the Slavic and Nordic myth. Demons of the forest spirits appear as handsome strangers that lure the young maidens into the twilight to dance the night away. As she follows, she may dance until the dawn, or she dies of exhaustion. There's definitely earlier versions of this myth, as we see, but the Christians really took the devil to the front stage. When Christianity spread, the older myths were seen to be recasted as the devil being the ultimate villain. The church used the area of dance as metaphors to warn us against lust, temptation, and of course, a good pagan ritual. The area of feminine sexuality and trance. And definitely the area of morality must play. A young woman dancing with a stranger, well, she should have known better. She ignores the subtle signs, the hooves, the claws, the shadowy eyes. His grip was just too tight. Can we blame him? She was overwhelmed with attraction, that dirty whore. And finally, they reveal the truth. She is dancing with the devil all along. This becomes much more than a cautionary tale about seduction and intuition being ignored. It's the cost of getting too close to the forbidden, the area of desire and lust. While Christianity definitely exploited this myth in the 15th and 17th centuries as the idea of witches literally dancing with the devil himself became so widespread that this myth could not be unraveled. Women weren't just dancing with evil, but they were dancing with autonomy and independence. To the church, the women were unafraid of their own sexuality and must be the devil. Women healing with herbs, they must be dancing with the devil. Women gathering in circles, or some would even say collective groups or covens. The devil is leading them. Women dancing freely at the night. It must be the devil creating this energy of madness. So dancing with the devil became a political weapon, the area of mythology and symbolism. Dancing with a power that society wants you to see as forbidden. Modern areas of the mystic interrupts this frequently programmed idea that shadow reclaiming is much more than just dancing with your intuition. It's acknowledging your desires and the area of self-liberation, dancing with the parts that the hierarchy wants you to bury. There's definitely this area of parallelism in the dance archetype. In Latin American folklore, a mysterious handsome man at a nightclub or a fiesta seduces a young woman with feet that are hooves. Could it be a shapeshifter or a trickster spirit? But the desires of demons definitely comes through. in areas of morality. Also, in the Hindu asuras, some are seen as temptress humans with the dance to pull them into the ego-driven of karmic past. They represent the shadow or desire, the illusions, and spiritual intoxication. In the African diaspora, there's traditions. Certain spirits come to mind, like Papa Legba, or the crossroad entities that appear as charming strangers. The dance represents initiation, bargaining, transformation, and crossing over, confronting spiritual consequences. These aren't just devils, but the threshold of, some would even say, guardians or spirits. The psychological archetype that the shadow loves to play is that we are wounded, your unprocessed trauma, your forbidden impulses, your ego, and your destructive path all suppress your energy of desires. So dancing with the devil could be actually a metaphoric reality that some of us are living in, possibly through a toxic relationship, addictive patterns, self-sabotaging, cycles and circles, and movements that continue to go on. But the dance is also transformative, as it is done in an awareness. In most of the myths, we see the energy of this individual being seen with something stronger, wiser, and more self-aware, no longer naive, and some would even say reborn. The devil's dance isn't just a fail, it's an initiation. It's the true energy of mythology, meaning that the devil's invitation to dance and surrender to your desires and your areas of intimacy is much more than just morality. It's your primal instinct to make the right decisions in your area of leading through your movement and not stepping into your shadow for the ultimate permission. Letting temptation reveal your weak points, but also having the area of awareness and confronting your darkness, surviving your own inner underworld, and reclaiming your power for what you once controlled or did not control, as some would say. I definitely see this dance as an energy of reflection, understanding our shadow, our energy of desires, where we're easily lured, and some of our insecurities. So dancing with the devil is something that some of us are still doing. Unfortunately, it is a truth behind the saga, and so does the legend of Marisol. Not just in the energy of the warehouse where the music continued to echo, but the warnings of our elders' whispers or the ancestors, the energy that feels deep to our gut, not allowing us to ignore it any longer. Some say she truly danced with the devil, while others say she crossed paths with her own shadow. But no matter which version you believe, the story reminds us of one thing. Every choice is a doorway, every temptation has price, and every soul knows when something isn't right. Trust your whispers and your energy of intuition. Honor your light and carry who you are. And remember, not every invitation is meant to be accepted, no matter how beautiful the smile is that's offering it. I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with your witchy bestie. Bye.